only way to keep up with it is an AI-based defense.
People are not looking at AI as they should. They should look at it as a tool to grow some. Welcome to Inside the Mesh. I'm Diego Ramirez, and today we have a very special guest, Trevor Broles, who is the manager of the Cyber Intelligence Center at Bell Cyber. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thanks for having me. Lovely to be here.
Trevor, you have often described your background as operations first. What did you do and what did you learn in IT in order to prepare yourself to become the manager of a Cyber Intelligence Center?
That's a good question. So I started my career roughly 13 years ago, going from a computer technician to a IT specialist to a system administrator. These were sort of firms that were more financial based and energy based. It sort of became a position of becoming the guy or the guru. So essentially where you were the only person at that job doing that thing. Which was a great learning experience, but sometimes it was difficult in order to react to certain situations with limited resources and limited tools. But with that being said, it did teach me a lot of how to make the best out of a sort of scarce situation. So I took a lot of that knowledge in with me when I started building essentially security tools from the ground up because I had to. And that sort of led me into a position of being able to join a company at that time, Stratagem, to essentially start as their onboarding specialist for professional services.
Correct. So basically, you started developing your hands-on skills, and eventually you started working with clients and or client-facing situations. And that helped you to get ahead in your career and basically take on more responsibilities as a security specialist at Bell Cyber. Now, how did these professional services learnings encourage you to become a better manager?
Being in a position where you need to know a tool from the ground up, in professional services, I was focused on our SIM platform, which is pretty much the lifeblood of our security as a service infrastructure. Aside from that, I was an email gateway security SME. I did NDR, VMDR, EDR, and I still acted as a point of escalation for certain critical incidents. But with that being said, this is a position where I needed to learn the tool quite intimately in order to deploy it in client environments. So I needed to be involved in that entry point and make sure that it was stable enough for production. So that gave me a very unique perspective and experience to be in a position that allowed me to see that from start to the handoff to operations.
So you obviously have a lot of knowledge with all of these defensive security tools like EDR, XDR, vulnerability management tools, SOAR, AI solutions. How do they come together for you to shape your investigations, and how do you explain these to the analysts that you're currently coaching?
Yeah, that's great. The primary school of thought is that individuals should specify or specialize in certain products to know those products pretty intimately. And I do agree with that to a certain extent, but I really push individuals to have, at the very least, a fundamental understanding of a wide variety of these tools end to end. The reason being is that cybersecurity is not a one-tool shop. And as Bell Cyber has shown through our cyber mesh architecture, it's the interweaving of these tools together that make a strong security posture. So when I walk analysts through an incident, I am asking them to not only engage with the fundamentals of networking, but also how these tools are integrated into a client stack and how these logs produce. It is really just visualized within our SIM supervisor, but all the tools feeding into it are a smattering of whatever works for a client's environment.
Trevor, that being said, what are you looking for in a prospective analyst that wants to join a cyber intelligence center like ours?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I feel that we have a lot of alignment in sort of our tactics to suss out what would make a good analyst. Certs are fine. Accreditation is fine. Education is fine. There are certain things that I cannot teach to individuals, and what I really look for when I'm getting down to brass tacks is an investigative mindset. Someone who is able to think critically, and to someone who is able to use common sense and logic in a way that will assist them during an investigation. If they need to know about networking, I can teach them. If they need to know about how an EDR works, I can teach them that too. It's very difficult to teach someone how to be a good investigator if they do not have those baseline skill sets. With also that being said, you need to love what you do. This industry is difficult. This industry is intense. And it also is, it could be a lot for some people. But if you come into work and you love what you do every day, you will succeed after some time, yeah.
So obviously analysts go through complex investigations on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take care of making sure that the analysts are utilizing the correct tools and the correct strategies in order to provide our clients with a high level of quality when it comes to the investigations that we send them?
For sure. That is a good question. There is multiple schools of thought to that. I have a certain way of how I go about investigations. We have a way in which we standardize that process of how an analyst should conduct these investigations. A repeatable process is a good process as long as it's been worked pure. The thing is, as well, I want to also empower analysts to make their own decisions and to investigate in a way that makes sense to them. If I'm squashing their creativity during an investigation, they may see something that I don't see. Now, I would like to think that I've been in long enough that I will catch most things. But just because I conduct things a certain way, some of the best parts of my job is when an analyst comes to me and catches something I didn't catch.
Trevor, all the industries and companies out there started adopting AI solutions and strategies in order to overcome certain challenges. How do you explain Bell Cyber's data, AI, privacy, and security guardrails to the public?
This is a question I get a lot, and especially as in not only the security industry, but in all tech adjacent industries by large, AI is becoming a need instead of a want. I used to attend these conferences, I still do, but I would go to these certain vendors, I'm not going to mention them by name, to discuss what they were doing in terms of privacy. And some of them would tell me we would give a client a ChatGPT API key and we would select don't train on our data. And I was blown away. That is not a way to handle any sort of data privacy for an organization. So I had to sit down with our developers over on the professional services team just to sort of better understand what we are doing. And so they informed me, because it's like, since we have this SIM platform as the lifeblood of our organization, all this data is already categorized. It's tagged. Organization ID, source IP, user ID. All of this is already tagged and categorized. So what we do is that we take this information and we switch it out with information that makes sense contextually, but it is not their information. So gas station A becomes gas station B, right? It changes out each of the information, but it's important to maintain the context because, especially in previous releases of generative AI, it would become confidently wrong. If you gave it an IP subnet that made no sense, it would try and make sense of it. Certain AI models have gotten better at catching this, but a lot of the time it would still take the information that it was given as sacrosanct. So we issue information that makes sense to the AI. That's not the client information. It goes out to these models, enriches the incident based on the contextual information provided, and the information is reinserted back on our end that makes sense for the client, right? It is completely hashed, it is completely safe, and no AI at Bell Cyber ingests that information.
So obviously, companies that adopt AI solutions need to come up with an acceptable use policy for AI as well. They need to teach employees what information goes to AI versus what information stays, because it's considered personal identifiable information as well.
Correct. And we are only one part of the puzzle. It is a collaborative effort between us and our clients in order to make their organization safe. AI data leakage, a good portion of it is fundamentally a human issue, right? And we can do the best that we can to secure our environment and to secure the way in which the data we ingest is kept safe. But an organization is also responsible, and the individuals of those organizations are also responsible to make the same efforts.
Now, Trevor, based on our autonomous SOC operations and all our AI strategies, where do you see AI leveraging the most for our analysts at the Cyber Intelligence Center?
Classically, SOC centers, and if we're talking about prototypical SOC centers that would come out in sort of the cybersecurity infancy, a lot of it was every single incident was manually investigated, was gone over by an analyst in sequence. AI helps to cut down on a lot of the events that would be considered just either more informational, repeating, easy wins, right? If you have a VPN login failure, and there's thousands of them, really helps to cut down on the noise. A SIM platform helped to correlate this, but an AI-infused SOAR platform helps to remediate it entirely. So now an analyst is free to investigate things that are require a higher level of intention, require a higher level of expertise, and to be quite honest, speaking from someone who also investigates this, that are just more fun. Right? So it frees up an analyst to do more fulfilling and more rewarding work. There is always this concern that AI is going to replace us, but I at this current state within AI, the most skilled analysts and the best investigators, they're never going away.
Correct, because obviously people are not looking at AI as they should. They should look at it as a tool to grow some skills, as a tool to basically make their lives easier, so that you release some of your time and you use it to upskill yourself, right? AI is here to help us with repetitive tasks, basically. But of course, there are some guardrails that need to be put in place in order for that to happen successfully.
Yeah, correct. I might have a Roomba, but I still need to mop my floor now and then.
That's correct. Right? Trevor, what is the client-facing benefit of an autonomous SOC like the one that we have at Bell Cyber?
First of all, speed, efficiency, and repeatable quality of engagement. Right? You have events that are coming in at lightning speed, especially with the advent of AI-based attacks. And the only way to keep up with it is an AI-based defense, where you can maintain your honor of using a katana, but the thing is, we're in a gunpowder era right now. War is changing, right? So you have an incident that comes in and it's immediately correlated. It's immediately enriched with threat intelligence, with information on your environment, with recommendations right there. And that is just further enhanced by a primary analyst who also knows your organization and who is ready to either validate the recommendations, provide additional recommendations, or perform additional actions. At that point, it's like, do I want to get an hour-long process, or do I want to get a 15-minute process, or an under 5-minute process?
Correct. So from your point of view, and of course, clients are usually concerned about things like alert fatigue, false positives, and things like that. From your point of view, do you think AI has helped us reducing the time to maybe fix a rule that it's not working, or maybe fine-tune some of the rules that are usually there in our client environments?
Absolutely. AI doesn't stop. It is working 24/7 all the time with contextual information of an environment that it can use, draw from, and action. We engage in a process with our clients when they get onboarded to correlate their events and sort of go through a sort of soaking period in order to build a standard deviation coefficient. In SOAR environments, it was just that sort of plus minus integer. But with AI, there's contextual information that augments that. You have someone who has a login outside of North America, right? And certain variables such as time, user might do a plus or minus increase on a standard deviation coefficient. AI takes that and then adds further contextual information to provide best course of action. Is it a session reset? Is it a VPN drop? Is it an account reset? Are we blocking an IP? This is all done in tandem, right?
Trevor, a couple of rapid fire questions. What makes you proudest of the Cyber Intelligence Center right now?
So I think in cybersecurity, we're a competitive bunch, and a lot of us just like to win. We like wins. We like succeeding, right? And I come from a background of, I boxed for a while, and getting into a position, there was almost no better feeling than, turning that hook and landing a good shot. There's no better feeling than hitting a home run out of the park, right? Think of yourself as a man, like when you're a manager, you're like a coach to them. So you're watching from the sidelines. So when you see someone wind up and they've been practicing their swing, you've been going through it with them for weeks and weeks, and then you see them and they clear the ball all the way around the park, and you just like everything is just like stops, and it's all. So that to me, I had an individual as a co-op, and they caught a remote access tool just in raw logs, right? And that to me, in recent memory, that made me so proud, because seeing the pride on their face when they catch something like that, there's almost no better feeling.
I agree with you, Trevor. And finally, where do you see the future of autonomous SOC operations at Bell Cyber?
So sometimes when I have a conversation with sales, they'll say, like, Trevor, this is like too much matrixy, right? This is too philosophical. But I like AI theory, and I think it's really interesting to just sort of like view a perspective of something about how this will continue to increase. We look at a SIM dashboard, right? And so on the supervisor level, and it's displaying a whole bunch of nice graphs and a whole bunch of nice charts. And for us, it helps our investigation. For the client, it also looks nice too. AI doesn't need that. AI only needs the underlying data and the underlying formulas. I'm having a conversation with you back and forth, right? I am limited by the cadence and your ability to process, right? AI is speaking at a level which I can't physically comprehend, right? And so if we take the advent of quantum computing, we imagine our communication as yes, no, right? Classic binary systems, if we're talking. Now, understanding that we're in hexadecimal and base 64, sure. But we're evolving to a process with quantum computing in the sense where the language is not just efficacy and speed. It would be likened to me speaking every language that was ever invented at once, right? So moving like a left and right movement to up, down, sideways, everywhere. So I feel, and we're on this precipice where we might be able to achieve something truly spectacular. Like, and you think about what this means for security, but also what this means for threat actors as well. So it's a very, very interesting time for cybersecurity.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for joining us today, and thanks everyone for watching.